guys, it's Lost. So, this is something a little bit different than I normally do for my channel. This is kind of like a behind-the-scenes director's commentary, I guess, podcast. And I am not by myself. I'm actually joined by two other lovely, lovely ladies. First off, I'm joined by Magpiepony.
Hi.
Oh, man. And I am joined by the ever-lovely Mary Medley.
Sup?
I'm not lovely? Well.
Baby, I think it's already implied.
You're implied.
Oh my fucking God. Okay, so what I've done pretty much is we're gonna be going over a couple little different random topics about the Tale of the Lost Narrator series, because I've had a couple people ask me to do something like this, and this is actually something I've wanted to do too, because there were a couple of things that I wasn't able to necessarily talk about in the production, because life is a thing, and I didn't want to obviously give away spoilers, and yes, that's...
Speaking of spoilers.
Oh, yes. Speaking of spoilers, this is a very heavy spoiler podcast. So if you haven't listened to the installments of the Tale of the Lost Narrator series,
you'll be
Where the fuck have you been?
confused.
Yeah, where have you been? Exactly. Where have you been? So you should probably click the eye on the fucking screen right now. It will link you to a playlist with all of them. Or you could start at Chronicle of Curse Word, because I put a summary there on purpose. Because I knew that there were going to be people who didn't necessarily fucking have the time to listen to the whole goddamn thing. So, because I know people have lives. That is a thing.
Do you?
Yes. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. The first thing we should probably start off with is the writing process. So, I started this, or I had the concept for this fucking story probably about 4 years ago, and the writing process of it has not been a very easy one, particularly the last installment. But each installment, the writing process, like the first one I started off with, I conceptualized the idea, and then I had Scribbler, Goody, and Mag be the beta readers for it. And I've always wanted to do a story where, because like all the creepypasta creepypasta people on the creepypasta fandom, they all have like their little side stories for their characters. And I saw a few people in the MLP fandom doing their own side stories, and I was like, well, I want to throw my hat into the fucking ring. I want to do this bitch. So I pretty much did, I kind of just thought up my own. I remember being in a call with a friend of mine who was an artist and describing up the concept of my OC having this fucking bullshit leather mask and like looking rotted out and shit. And I was like, oh, that looks edgy as fuck.
And thus Curse Word was born.
And thus Curse Word was born. And the thing too, like Curse Word originally was a name from another friend that was like, oh, what would Lost OC name be? And it's like, oh, Curse Word, because of the fucking, all the stupid bullshit on her cutie mark. And I was like, oh my God, that's fucking brilliant. And after that, I got the name for that. It was like, her words are literally cursed. And I was like, yeah, what if some bitch literally, whenever she got so pissed off, she could curse people? It's almost like the Carrie effect. Like, if you've seen Carrie, the horror movies, the Carrie horror movies, it's sort of like when she gets so angry, her fucking telepathy fucking kills everyone around her.
Fun.
It's
a handy power to have.
It is. It's a very handy power to have. But it was sort of that, like, idea. And then, like, the idea of the beloved character getting cursed away was kind of my own, like, way of dealing with the long distance between Mag and I. Because at that point, I had started dating Mag. And it sucked. I fucking hated the long distance so much. Writing's always been a way for me to deal with shit. And that was kind of my way of being like, oh, I'm so far away. Well, let's have the lover here being fucking cursed away because fuck life. And yeah, pretty much the overall concept was that I wanted cursed to be a symbolism for watching your mouth, because I feel like, especially like online, it's like everybody's so quick to run their goddamn mouths and nobody understands the idea of tact anymore. And it was that Curse is just so quick to be impulsive and she fucks herself over in the process. And it's supposed to be like a cautionary tale.
I think it's worth noting here, too, that the very first draft of the story didn't have a beloved.
Yes, the very first draft did not have a beloved. It wasn't until I think I was talking to you and I had the thought of, oh, I really want to put like a love interest in this story.
Well, you needed a purpose.
Yeah.
Curse word needed a reason for being a monster. And I think that was what the original draft was missing.
Yeah.
It was, why was she doing these things? Because characters don't just turn evil for nothing.
No. And that was the big thing too, is that I wanted to make sure that each of the characters that were going to be in the story had legitimate reasons for being garbage characters. I wanted, because that's the one thing. I know, right? Like, I just want to make sure all my characters are garbage.
Perfect.
It's the idea that, because I've read a lot of like other stories, and especially like with the show MLP, like a lot of the villains don't have sometimes legitimate reasons. Like, we don't know why Chrysalis is such a fucking bitch. We don't know why Sombra is fucking a horrible goddamn mess of a fucking character. We don't know. And I like stories that give well-rounded characters like real good depth. And that was something I really wanted to do. The first story is written as a creepypasta, and is it until you get to the second story, Beloved's Curse, that you realize, oh...
There's a lot more to it.
Yeah, there's a lot more to this whole bitch than what meets the eye. Beloved's Curse, which was the Halloween special that came up next, was basically the retelling of the same story, but from Beloved's perspective, when you find out that, oh, Beloved's not dead, she's just stuck in this purgatory bullshit. And Mag was the one who helped me write that one a lot, because she was the one who was narrating it.
Well, and you wanted me to be able to write my own character.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it was really about finding Magpie's voice. And I remember when you asked me, because in Tale of the Lost Narrator, Beloved is not given a name.
No.
And to be honest, I liked that a lot, because then I could imagine that I was your beloved without actually having to be your beloved. Because I never wanted a backstory from my OC. Like, that's not something I found.
I was gonna say, you were so adamant about it too. I remembered like being on calls with you, and I had this idea already, and I was just like, well, I need to fucking ask her. Shit, is she gonna be okay with this? Because I when I wrote the Beloved character, I had your character in mind.
I know, and we had talked about how I don't like OC backstories. It's like, because I would vent about that and be like, oh, it's just another backstory for an OC. And I would, you were adorably hesitant to be like, so can I use Magpie? And I'm just like, ugh, fine. Fine. I have to be your lover. God.
Right? But then, yeah, you helped me. I would say Mag was probably one of the biggest creative driving forces behind the story as well, especially because of the song that you wrote, Reversion, which everyone's already heard it to death by now.
I had no idea at the time how impactful that was going to be. I was doing a 12 Days of Christmas.
But you didn't do all the days, but go on.
I gave up around 6. But
close enough.
I was doing the 12 Days of Christmas for Lost. It was the very first Christmas we were together. And one of the days was Reversion. And I remember when she heard it, she cried. And I'm just like, crap. I didn't know it was going to mean that much. I broke her.
Yeah, you broke me. That was pretty much it. But that fucking song fits so perfectly with both of those characters. Like, it's fucking ridiculous. Yeah, so Beloved's Curse, it was pretty much, I wanted to give in the additional pieces that people were like, oh, well, why the fuck did this happen? And why the fuck, was this going on? And it isn't until you get to Beloved's Curse that you realize, oh, Beloved isn't as, perfect as Curse thinks that she is. Especially because the listener gets killed.
But that's part of the charm of your characters.
Yeah.
Is that they're each deeply flawed and they're each villains.
Yeah.
This is a villain versus villain versus villain story.
Yeah. It was the biggest thing, especially when I got into the next 2 parts, was that I wanted this story to be a deconstruction of villains. Because a lot of the times, we're used to with Disney villains, it's like, oh, they're campy, they're fucking in your face, and I love it. But you rarely find out why they're like Scar. Like Scar, for example, he doesn't have Like, that good of a fucking reason. Like, why is he trying to fucking dethrone Mufasa and all this other shit other than just quote unquote jealousy and brotherly, bitterness? Or, what is it? Jafar. Jafar's another one too. I wanted to give it's sort of like the idea, the flip side of the coin. It's like not everyone has a reason as for why they do the things they do. And that's where this story kind of came into place. And it wasn't until you get to the next two stories, Stained Memories and A Story Written with Ink, where you realize, oh, things are even more fucked up than they were. It's progression of fucked upness. That's what this whole story is. And I introduced the character Ink Dye. And a lot of people ask me why I wrote Stained Memories first and then A Story Written with Ink is because I realized after writing Beloved's Curse, I didn't have enough, I guess, building blocks for people to realize, oh, that's ink dye, or this is what it is. And I had to kind of plant those seeds first before I went, oh, here's this bitch,
Well, it's of note that when we were talking about this, originally Ink Dye's story was going to be released on Mother's Day.
Yes, that was the other thing too. A Story Written with Ink was originally supposed to be released on Mother's Day because I wanted it to be like, oh, it's a little mother's story. Yeah. It's like, oh, Ink Dye is giving her son a bath and then she fucking murders him. Oh my God. Like...
Best Mother's Day story ever.
I was going to say, and that was the other concept too, was that Ink Dye, or Skip Scamper, the cult, who dies in the fucking story and pretty much sets off the whole chain of events for everything. He was originally supposed to be Ink Dye's legitimate son. I was going to go that far of a level, but then I realized that's
too far.
It's too far, and she's a lesbian. She wants Magpie back, but not with fucking her own baggage at the same fucking time. But yeah, it wasn't until I got to A Story Written with Ink that Carmen came into the picture. I asked her, I think nearly like 6 months before even production had began. Like, I pulled you aside and I was like, so I have a proposition.
For a very interesting character, to say the least.
Yes, for a very, very, it's something like I was going to say, so when I asked you to be Ink Dye, what were your thoughts and things like that real quick?
Well, it's something very, very different, especially since most of the things I've done are not to this dark and, like, twisted extent. And I was like, why me? Like, because there's people that, like, they do something more along those lines. But it was something by far one of the most fun things to voice. As fucked up as it was, drowning a cold. How fun.
Right.
But...
right? And it was Pitch, too. You got to kill Pitch, so...
that makes it all more worth it.
God damn it.
It was a challenge, to say the least, but the story gets so twisted and so deep that there's so much more to it than meets the eye, especially the longer you read along with it, especially in the finale.
I had a few people ask me flat out why I chose you to voice Ink Dye, and there was a specific reason for that. Ink Dye, the character, when I was writing that story, is based off of my ex. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, like, why would you... real life. You always draw from real life when you're fucking writing. But, she is based off of my ex, and my ex was this pint-sized little fucking Asian thing. And I'm doing an audio adaptation, so how do you convey small in audio? And I was like, oh, so who has the cutest little voice out of all of my friends?
Hi.
Right? And I was like, I purposely chose Carmen because I needed a cutesy voice to contrast my deeper voice in Mag's middle range voice. I wanted it was almost like the Darla Dimple effect. If you've seen Cats Don't Dance, Darla Dimple is the antagonist, and she's based off of Shirley Temple, and she is probably the biggest bitch in the whole fucking wide world. Or Cozy Glow, if you're going with like the newer seasons. They both are based off of all that tropes of the cutesy character and that kind of sense.
It's always the cute ones.
It's always the cute ones. You just never trust them. So I wrote Story Written with Ink. That one went over well, and then Chronicle of Cursor, the writing process for that one. Oh boy. So I don't know if anybody's noticed, but like last year I slowed down my output on videos significantly. I wasn't putting out content as consistently as I would have liked. And that was because I was writing Chronicle of Curseword. Chronicle of Curseword ended up being an 18,000 word story. And I didn't think it was going to be that goddamn long. But when I got done with it, I was like, fuck. And it kind of mentally broke me.
Kind of.
It really mentally broke me. And
no kind of here.
I know there ain't no kind of. It broke me because I'm not saying I bled for my art, but
Well, let me put it like this. So, I love you so much, but the only thing she ever wanted to talk about was the story. And I mean that. Ever. So I would bounce off ideas for like Pinky Tails and PTS and things like that. It was always, let's talk about the story. Like, for at least a good year and a half.
No, I'd say 2 years.
Oh.
Because, like, it literally, I would end one story, like, especially when I got after Beloved's Curse, I'd be like, okay, so how is this bitch ending? How am I going to wrap this up? How am I going to put a bow on all of this? And
you were never satisfied.
No.
After our talks.
Never.
Yeah, but. And I got to a point where I basically was like, I love you.
But no.
Please find someone else to talk to about this. I'm just so done with this right now. And it's not because I don't love the story, but it's because you won't shut up.
And that's true love right there.
Yes, it is.
God damn it. No, but yeah, the writing process was not easy. It was probably one of the most taxing things. And because I've written a lot of other things too. But this one was the one that kind of took the most out of me because I had to dig deep for that shit. That was not fun. But luckily, another friend of mine, Nile of the Nine, towards the end of it, when I was getting ready to start scripting it for the audio adaptation, he was the one that helped me out with refining it, and especially when it came to curse words dialogue. Oh boy, it's always good to go to an ex-Marine to get those that colorful language you really fucking need for your story. But I was gonna say the writing process was not easy. It was probably one of the most difficult things to do. Let's just say, because I mean, obviously I do a lot of, story adaptations. I have a much more fond appreciation for the writing process from authors. Like, I know that feel really bad now. But yeah, I think that's a good place to stop on that topic. The alternate ending.
Yay!
Yep. Because I had a few people tell me about the ending of Chronicle of Curseword, that it was a little tropey, which I know it is. I mean, fuck, I have Beloved at one point say, "You're dead and I'm cursed." If that's not cliche, what the fuck is this, you know? I know how tropey and cliche certain aspects of the story are. Like, I'm aware of that.
And it's rare for a grimdark to end anywhere near hopeful.
Yeah.
But if you really deconstruct the actual ending, how hopeful is it? Because Curseword has to live with all of these memories and try and start over again with a newfound knowledge of Magpie's flaws. So I'm not so sure it's as happy as it comes off.
Yeah. It's not. Like, I purposely gave Curse the knowledge of, because I didn't want that ending. I didn't want the ending where Curse gets a clean slate, she doesn't remember a goddamn thing. That is stupid, and I hate when characters get those kinds of second chances. I don't want that. Especially in Curse's shoes, because of how fucking, because yeah, you know what, she was a puppet of a Beloved in ink. But at the same time, she still willingly went through with a lot of the actions that she did. And it's my headcanon is that she's going to have a fuckload of PTSD. There's going to be a lot of fucking drama about that. Because, that's what happens when you're fucked over like that. But there was a different ending I originally thought of for this story. It's if you've played Silent Hill 2, it's sort of the in-water ending because it's the only way and everything works out. It was either everyone was going to be alive or it was going to be this ending. And this ending was that Curse does succeed in killing Ink Dye. She actually obliterates the fuck out of her and kills her. And Curse and Beloved get warped back into the forest at the campsite. But because the realm doesn't exist anymore, Curse can't stay alive anymore. Curse is immortal because of basically a mixture of Ink Dye's bullshit magic that she gets from the fucking experiments that happened to her in the prison and Beloved's love. It's a mixture of the two. It's not just Beloved's love that keeps her alive. It's both. And because the realm is dead and Ink Dye's dead, Curse starts deteriorating. So Beloved runs over to her and basically holds Curse, and she dies.
She turns to ash.
She turns to ash. That was originally what I was going to do. And Beloved, because she was stuck in the purgatory and Ink's powers kept her youthful, basically is still able to live. And the original ending, or the alternate ending, which was what I was gonna go out with at one point, is that Beloved kills herself. Because she's so overcome with guilt because of the actions that she's done that she can't live with herself. She can't live with the fact that she basically fucked over the one pony that she loved. And yeah. So
and Curse is irredeemed, and, you know, there's no way that she'll be able to be with her again.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, everyone dies. It's the everyone dies ending.
Everybody dies.
So between the two, it seems like the one you went with seems nicer.
Yeah, well, because I wanted the ending to be a little bit more of a reflection of my own life, because it's sort of the idea that you can get through shit. Originally, I think after when I was writing Stained Memories and A Story Written with Ink, I was kind of dead set on the everybody dies ending, and it wasn't until I got to Chronicle of Curseword that I was like, nah, I can't kill everybody off. I can't. Because I think another ending, too, I had in mind was that Beloved sacrifices herself and dies. And then Curse is pretty much, literally dies. There's no warp back or anything. And Curse pretty much has to live with that Beloved's actually dead now.
Plus, I wanted this to be sort of symbolic, like your actual story in real life, where you were able to get out of a bad situation with minimal scarring and be able to move on and have a healthy relationship and a wonderful love life. At least I would hope so. And, you know, so I wanted to...
There's not a little bias there.
Just a little bit. But I thought it was important that the story end that way because that's a reflection on you.
Yeah.
Although it should be noted, and we've said it before many, many times in other girlfriend tag videos and things like that, that the character Curseword is so much more like me, and the character Beloved/Magpie is so much more you.
Yeah.
If we were really to say what characters we embody, it is flipped.
Oh yeah, it's definitely flipped. It's I'm more Beloved in the sense, and Mag is more Curseword. Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I realize how much I've been talking. Let me ask you a few questions, Carmen, because I know you a lot of people have praised your role and your portrayal of Ink Dye. So, in your portrayal as Ink Dye, what was it like voicing her? Like, seriously, like, what were, because I know you and I, we had we had calls. We had lots of calls.
A lot of calls where sanity was lost, voices were lost, and hours later, it's like every fiber of my being is just dead. So it was a great experience. No, but voicing Ink, it's draining almost, and especially some parts more than others where it gets more serious. It's like, fuck. Like, I remember there's some parts, it was like 3 lines for a certain scene, and it took like half an hour.
I know exactly what scene it was. It's in Chronicle of Curseword, there is a flashback sequence where Ink Dye, because Ink is obviously bending the fucking reality around them, and Ink puts Curse in her shoes for the abuse scene. And I fleshed it out because I had a lot of people asking me about, because the abuse scene is originally introduced in Stained Memories. And I had a lot of people asking me, what's the other side of the coin? What's the other side of the coin? And is it the thing I'm thinking fucking happening? And I had to get very creative with the portrayal of that, because obviously on my channel, I don't want it to be so overtly in your face. I didn't want, there was a very thin line I had to tread. Mm-hmm. I didn't want it to get very, very explicit, but I had Carmen record lines that are very, uncomfortable. That's the best way to describe it.
Yep.
And because it was funny too, because I had to record the same lines. I had her record them first, and then I had to parrot them back in the same inflections. And Mag can tell you that took me about a good 20 minutes to fucking record.
No, it took you far longer, and we needed to take breaks. You couldn't get through all of it. I'm not saying anything too personal here, I hope, but some of that hit a little too close to home for you, and I think that my personal opinion on that scene, I don't know if I'm glad you did it or not. Just because I was there to pick up the pieces, so to speak.
I say Mag was there with her fucking shop broom, just sweeping along, picking up those fucking pieces, sweeping them up. Yeah, that scene was probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to edit and put together conceptually, just overall. That scene, that's the scene that broke me.
It's also, you had to stay in that. You had to record it.
Yeah.
You had to edit Carmen's vocals. You had to
be on the call with her to record the vocals. I had to record my own vocals.
Revisit this feeling and these thoughts
over and over and over again until it was finished. Fun. No, it wasn't. It was not fun. Like I said, bleeding for my art. But to be honest, that's probably one of the scenes that I'm most proud of. Because there's two versions of it. You have the written version, and obviously then you have the audio adaptation. And in the written version, those lines, there are a lot of lines that are still there. But in the audio adaptation, I had static effects glitching out for certain lines because I didn't want it to be so overtly in your face.
Right. The written's definitely more...
Oh, yeah. The written is way more, a little bit more intense. Yeah, in that sense. But I had those lines redacted because it's the idea... It was, again, Silent Hill, too, because a lot of inspiration, like when it comes from me writing horror and things like that, comes from like Silent Hill 2 and a bunch of other things that I love. But in Silent Hill 2, when James realizes that he's the one that's killed Mary, the scene that he's watching on the videotape, in the American version, it statics out after he places the pillow on her face. You don't see it completely. In the Japanese version, you see the entire scene of him smothering her. But in the American version, it's like glitched out, it's zoomed in, you can't see what the fuck is really going on, but it's pretty much implied that he killed Mary. And I wanted something like that, which is why like the scene zooms in, you have static glitching effects, you have like all this shit going on, and you can't tell what's really going on, but you know it's fucked up. You know that there's horribleness going on. And yeah, and that scene, I was gonna say, you did such a good job, Carmen, but it was horrible.
I think it was horrible for everyone.
It was horrible for everyone.
Just everyone, including Niall, who had to kind of pick it apart.
Yeah.
You know, and just, it was just not fun.
It's not a fun scene.
And I really do yo-yo between, I'm proud of you for writing that, because in a way it's dealing with some stuff that needed to be dealt with. But I'm also like, why?
Yeah. It's
like in a sense, it's almost therapeutic in a sense, but still, like, the fuck.
Yeah, it's like pretty much, let's drag myself over the coals and then put myself in a nice bath afterwards. But
it's funny because I remember after Carmen recorded, I got this message on Skype where you're like, I'm sorry. I feel like I need to say I'm sorry to you. And I'm just like... Okay. Because I got out of it. I didn't have to record for that scene. I'd already done it.
Yeah, that's the other thing, too. I don't think a lot of people realize this. Mag's lines are literally the same lines from Stained Memories, and I did that on purpose.
Yeah, I got out of it.
Yeah, you did get out of it, you bitch. But going back, though, like, what was it, or were there any enjoyable moments voicing Ink Eye, though?
Laughing like a maniac, even though that was already kind of struggling. I mean, Killing Pitch, obviously obligated to be great. I don't know, because there's a lot that goes into it. Like, a lot of it's hard, but a lot of it is just fuck. I don't know. In general, it's a lot of fun. I can't pinpoint something that was like my favorite, though I will say seeing the parts for the animatic, of course, and seeing that portrayed in the final product was really fucking nice.
Yeah, Marking did a phenomenal job with the animatic. We kind of gave him free reign for that because I was looking for an artist to help me out with it, and Mags worked with Marking multiple times on other animatics, like for PTS and other things. And I was like, I want a full-fledged battle sequence for when Ink and Curse finally go at it.
And these are what the characters are capable of.
Yeah.
You know, these are their limitations, which pretty much is nothing.
Yeah, it was like pretty much, this is what they can do. This is who they are. This is...
He loved the free reign.
Oh, yeah.
It turned out so great. I think my favorite picture is the one where you're phasing through the wall.
Oh.
And you haven't regenerated completely yet. So you're all these like blood and guts and...
See, my favorite part, if I was to put like an image that sums up the entirety of the Chronicle of Curse Word, it would be the part where she has her intestines wrapped around fucking Ink Dye's neck.
Yes.
And she's just like, you fucking bitch. Like... Just that whole part is like that. When I think of everything I've been through, I'm like, this is where this has led me.
And that's my biggest mark on this project too. I did the sound mixing.
Yep.
I did the vocal directing in a sense.
Yes.
I put it all together. I did the visual effects.
Which
so
I'm
that
very,
was my
very,
biggest mark.
I would say, which I'm very, very grateful for, because I was kind of losing my mind in the middle of that project.
Well, I'm familiar with animatics.
Yes,
that was the biggest thing. Is I've done a few in my time. Just a few.
So one thing that when it was coming to the recording process, I was on a lot of calls with Carmen, coaching her through a lot of the lines, especially with Story Written with Ink, because you were getting your handle on the character. But it wasn't until Chronicle of Curse Word where I would throw lines at you and you would just fucking knock those shits out of the park. What were some of your favorite memories from the recording sessions, if you have any?
Oh, God. Fuck. I don't remember a lot of the things.
I know, right? It's like everything is one big bitch blur.
It is. Fuck.
Well, I remember hearing a lot of laughter. Like, the worst lines, and then just fits of giggles.
See, my favorite, if I had to say, like, my favorite thing of you recording was when you had to scream, "You unfaithful slut." When I wrote that line, I was like, I thought, I was like, I can't wait to hear Carmen fucking deliver this line.
No, and just any time where Ink Dye is like a sassy bitch, where she's like all high up and shit and thinking she's all that, which is a lot of the time in the story. But especially when she's more towards the psychotic with the cockroach comment. I remember that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, see.
The cucaracha.
The cucaracha. Oh, good. See, one of my favorite things about your portrayal as Ink Dye is especially when she was going into like psychotic fucking mode, your voice does this natural crack inflection. Like it squeaks. Especially like at the beginning of, what is it, the first scene with Beloved and Ink.
This is fine.
This is fine. You can hear how fucking over it Ink is, just like, you still love this other bitch, but I fucking love you and I've done everything for you. This is fine. And just like the way you delivered it was just fucking beautiful.
It was. That's probably one of my favorites.
And I would purposely like even tell you too, when we were going into recording sessions, I'd be like, make sure like when she gets to certain parts, bring that inflection out. And you did it so beautifully. Like it was just fucking, I loved it.
No, it's become slightly prepubescent with the voice cracks.
Right? God damn it. Yeah, but honestly, a lot of the sessions though ended up in giggle fits because of just how fucking like all over the place. And
they kind of needed to break the tension.
Yeah, it needed
that's
to.
the only way to get through it. You can't take that whole thing seriously because otherwise, no.
I mean, or you'll just mentally fall apart like I did. I mean, what? What? No. And like we were on calls for like a good few weeks too, because you work IRL and you have a life outside of Pony. Oh man, who would have thought?
Man.
And you're not, and also too, you're not voicing that much Pony stuff anymore. So I was very, very, very grateful to have you for the production. And you were only available Sundays, so each week we would get on the call on Sunday, and we'd be recording for like a good 2 hours.
I work as a counselor of people with mental illnesses, and that alone helps a lot, especially if they're symptomatic and they're going through stuff and they're just not in a good mood. They take that out on me, and then I took that out in recording.
Yeah, I think at one point I even said, I'm like, just channel all your fucking hate that you have for the people you have to fucking deal with into this, and it just manifested perfectly. Like...
Makes you wonder how much crap you go through, though.
Right?
It's like, wow, okay.
No, but that helped a lot, especially with the finale part, because I didn't have that when doing the first story written in ink, and I think it helped up the ante with the last 2 bits.
Yeah.
It helped a lot.
I was saying, because with the story written with ink does a lot more, because it's a flashback, and she's just a lot more vindictive. She's not, or like not even vindictive. She's much more subtle. She's like, I'm gonna fucking get back my bitch after I kill this little shit, and she's a lot more calm. But it isn't until you realize, oh, it's been 1,000 fucking years in this black void, and she hasn't been able to talk to Beloved this whole fucking time. Yeah, except for the fact that she's been voicing her, or disguising her voice as a man because she hasn't revealed herself, because deception is a bitch sometimes. So, obviously, Mag was voicing Beloved for this whole train wreck of a production of mine. What was some of your favorite moments of recording for Beloved / recording the process of the character?
I'm going to do a little, tattletaling on you, young lady.
Oh, okay.
Because whenever she has to record for me, she like drags her feet and just hates life. No, it's every time. Pinky tails, doesn't matter. I get so much crap. Because she's just like, why? Pick another Rainbow Dash. I'm just like, wow.
Well, sometimes it's like, I don't want to be Rainbow Ree.
You don't want to be Rainbow Ree, huh?
Right. There you go.
So, some of these recording sessions, you got a taste of your own medicine.
Oh, I did. I did.
Oh.
But for the most part, I like playing bad guys because my channel is so bright.
PG.
Happy and friendly.
I was like, PG's perfect. That is.
And when Estelle, when I was done being Estelle and sad about it, this was kind of my new Estelle. This was my new bad
outlet.
Bitch.
Your new bitch? Is that what
my new bad bitch.
Your new bad bitch.
I missed it. I missed being evil. I did. Because obviously I've written a lot of MLP creepypasta / horrors. And that this was a way for that side of me to be expressed vocally. And it was really interesting. As much crap as I give you for giving my OC a backstory, I think it turned out really well. I don't regret any of it. I think that the Beloved character is so complicated. In one scene, she's this innocent, cute little thing, and then in the next, she's not. I mean, really. She's probably the most colorful character in terms of you never know what she's going to do next. At least with Ink Dye, we had a certain knowledge of she's always going to be prideful. She's always going to be one way. And to some extent, curse word as well. Magpie, the character, is a wild card.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I was going to... that's the thing, like, especially if we're getting into characters. Curse and Ink, I did that. I wanted them to be the dualities of each other. Like, if I could ever get artwork of, like, the two of them, like, on a fucking playing card, they would be, like, they're pretty much almost the same character on certain levels.
Yeah.
And I did that on purpose. The only difference is that Ink doesn't feel remorse for what she's actually doing with Beloved. She doesn't.
Well, in all of these characters, I'm kind of straying away from the recording, but more into character development.
I'm sorry if this podcast is a clusterfuck of thoughts.
If I don't express it, I forget it.
No, you're good.
But it's interesting to me how Ink's quote-unquote love is expressed. Because you wonder, why is she so obsessed with Magpie? Why just Magpie? Why would she pretend to be straight and marry some stallion just to get Magpie back?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to sound I don't want to sound like horrible, but I have met some crazy bitches in my life. Not my ex, I'm talking about in general. And I have seen the amount of insane loopholes or hoops they jump through to try and be with somebody.
Yeah.
And Ink especially, I specifically wrote her to, well, if it's implied a lot, especially when you read the subtext of the story. It's Ink is not comfortable with who she is. She's a lesbian, but she's not comfortable in it. And it's especially in the flip side of the abuse scene, you finally start realizing, oh, she's in upper society. They don't accept gays, at least in this context of the story. And it's the suppression of who she really is has fucked her up hard.
Well, not only that, Magpie, in certain ways, when she was with Ink, was the perfect victim.
Yes.
She didn't challenge Ink at all. And in fact, when Magpie left, she still hadn't challenged Ink.
No.
So I think Ink was expecting the same Mag to be waiting for her. After all that time, she was going to be the same puppet.
Yeah.
That is, if as long as she held out for it, she was just going to get back to the life she wanted. And that wasn't the case anymore.
No.
I think that she didn't think that Mag really loved curse word, because the Magpie she knew was so different from who Mag had become.
I say the Magpie she knew was a doormat, and the Magpie that we are introduced to in the story is much more sure of herself in that sense, because she gets that confidence from Curse, because Curse doesn't give a fuck.
Well, it's also the fact that Curse gave her something to live for.
Yeah.
Curse gave her confidence in herself. And when someone gives you that, it's intoxicating.
Yeah.
And you do kind of grow balls. I mean, because you're like, well, shit, this is how it's supposed to be. I remember, and this is also delving a little bit into our relationship, so I'm sorry if I give away secrets that I shouldn't. But there are a lot of moments when we first started dating where you would say, oh, this is how it's supposed to be. Like, this is what love is. And you were just so genuinely, it was adorable. It was so cute. You're like, oh, what happened with me and what I've experienced before isn't normal.
It's rewiring moments.
Yes.
And I specifically have Curse say that at the end of Chronicle of Curseword, when she's having her own reflection about everything, of how do you rewire yourself. And that, for the longest time for me, that was the thing I was dealing with, was how do I rewire myself back to who I was?
And you never did.
No, because I basically just built upon that. I built upon the feelings of brokenness and inadequacies and just feeling completely fucking run down. And I built an even better version of myself, obviously through love and everybody, supporting me, but most specifically Mag basically having that patience for me.
That's all right. You have patience for my bullshit too.
Right. But it was that idea. It's the rewiring. And I know that's what Beloved felt, especially like when you look at Beloved's curse, the way she describes curse word, and it's like she pretty much did get a second chance. And as the second she sees Ink, it's just like, fuck, it's all over. And yeah, I see, I'm happy with the way that Beloved progresses within the story, especially in Chronicle of Curse Word, when she finally gets her fucking chance to be like, fuck you, Ink. I'm fucking.
Well, that's.
I'm pretty sure everyone was applauding at that point.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
But it's also really important to the story. If Mag hadn't done that, her character would have been significantly different. Because curse words, seeing her being able to finally stand up to Ink Die, indicated to her that Mag had it in her. If Curse hadn't seen that, she might not think Mag did.
No.
That she'd have to be the one to do the confrontation, and she'd have to be the one to deal with Ink Die. But Mag did have it in her.
See, one of my little headcanons, obviously I'm never going to write this part, but one of my headcanons is that eventually, after that last scene you guys see after the credits where Curse cusses the fuck out of Ink, eventually Beloved does confront Ink, but in her own terms.
You mean after the retcon? Yeah,
after the retcon. That's what I call it. I call it the retcon because it's pretty much after Curse pretty much uses her goddamn powers to fucking bend time and space to put them back where they need to fucking be. And in that retcon, somewhere down the line, Beloved does confront Ink. But obviously we're not going to see that because that's not... I I mean, people have asked me to write a sequel to Chronicle of Cursed. I'm not going to do that because I think the series ends exactly where it needs to. But there is, like I said, there have been thoughts of, Beloved needs her to fucking confront Ink. And my stipulation, she does. But it's not seen within the context of the story. You guys don't need to see that because she does it in the void.
Well, now in the retcon too, Curse has something she needs to work through. So it became Curse helping Mag deal with what she'd been through and Mag helping Curse to some extent, not really knowing what she'd been through. But that, again, pulling from our own relationship, that was a big part of it too.
Yeah.
We built each other up.
Yeah.
And it made us... You didn't have to feel guilty for, leaning on me emotionally because I leaned back.
Yeah.
And I think that that's one of the things about our relationship that I love, that we're all fucked up in our own way.
Well, I mean, that's what fucking Curse says. We're all fucking broken. Just some of us are better at hiding it, which is true. That's the one thing you don't have. People, or there was a thing that you told me that you saw at your doctor's office a long time ago.
My favorite quote.
Yeah, your favorite quote. We want to say it?
Yeah, it's everyone you meet is battling a storm you can't see. Be kind.
Yeah. And it's true. You don't know what someone else is going through. And that's sort of like the I guess the mini theme towards the end. Because obviously Curse, no one's going to fucking know that Curse is a fucking raging psychopath that's 1,000 years old.
There's no way to know that.
There's no way to know that. And even, and she even says that, if she did say that, she'd probably be locked up in the psych ward. Nobody's going to fucking believe her.
So another question I think you should answer, love.
Oh.
Is there any kind of redemption for Ink in the retcon?
I know, right? That's genuinely a question I know you and I have explored, but I think that's something that would be interesting for people to... Yes, it really just comes down to Ink as a character, which is why, getting into my own personal bullshit, my ex supposedly tried going to therapy at one point after we had broken up and things like that. She really tried to get her shit together, but it was obviously a little too late. Fucking
yeah, that was to try and get you back.
Yeah, that was to try and get me back.
To help mend her.
It was like putting a Band-Aid over a gaping wound. That doesn't fucking work.
No.
But Ink, it really comes down to her. And in my own headcanon, if she finds somebody who's not gonna fucking take her shit, yeah, actually, I could see Ink being redeemed and realizing how much of a fucking garbage shithead she is. But it really comes down, it's the idea of the people around you help you flourish. It's always been that kind of mentality. And that's why I always try to surround myself around people that I know are good for me.
Well, in that sense, would it be fair to say that Magpie was toxic for Inktai?
Yes, because Magpie was too much of a doormat. She was too enabling in that sense, which is... and because she was, because of her own insecurities, because of her own background of being a fucking unicorn in goddamn fucking Cloudsdale or the Pegasi world. That was the other thing too. I never established actual worlds except for Canterlot, I think was the only one.
Didn't we at some point, when we were trying to name places just so we could talk about it, name it Sneakiesburg?
Yeah, Curse and Beloved are in Sneakiesburg.
Because we're like, what do we call the place she ran away to? It's not Ponyville. And you were like, Sneakiesburg. And I was like, fine.
If you look at the map of Equestria, Sneakiesburg is literally right behind the mountain of where Canterlot is. So you can't see it,
so
but it's
sneaky.
There. It's sneaky, but it's sneaky. Oh, god damn it. So what was one of the hardest things for you to voice, Mag? That's
that's complicated. That scene wasn't the hardest for me.
Right.
Not even in the flashback sense, because it was... I have fun when I record things.
Yeah, you do. I know you have fun.
So, Lost always makes the note of how can you go from screaming and sounding like you're crying to being happy and bubbly and on your high. That's the thing. I always try to record when I'm on my high, because and this is not new news, but I have bipolar, and I always get the best bloopers when I'm on my highs.
I think for when we were recording Rainbow Factory, for when you were Scootaloo, I think you literally had about 20 minutes worth of bloopers.
Yeah.
For that one alone, because you were just on so much of a fucking high. That's where some of your best shit comes from. Fucking.
I mean, and there's a whole new batch of bloopers with me on my high, and Alice just knocked everything over.
Because our cats are assholes.
So the hardest scene to record, gosh, I don't know. I genuinely don't have an answer to that, because I'm just going through all of the mag parts in my head. I think maybe dying? Because you gotta think of, if I'm on my high, it just made it sound campy. I'm like, I'm dead.
Actually, if I was to say what was probably the scene you struggled with the most, it was the death scene. Because I had to keep having you re-record the breathing sound effects because you couldn't. Usually
I can die just fine, but this time I was dying slow and I was dying like a martyr, and
you were dying pretty. That's what.
I was dying pretty. I'm not used to dying pretty.
I know, right?
Dying ugly.
Yeah, right? Because of all the shit that we have to voice for. We're used to like the gory, bloody, fucking horrible death.
Well, and how many times in my death scene did I like leak into my Pinkie Pie?
Oh, God.
Oh, God.
I did. I she was sitting there coaching me, and she's like, "You gone Pinkie again." Damn it. Why can't I just die as Pinkie?
And I guess for myself too, what it was like voicing curse word. I think I remember when I was when I started recording the lines for Chronicle of Curse Word, I kept second guessing myself because I'm not used to using it was like a weird mixture of my normal voice with my narrator voice, especially when she's like doing her internal monologuing and shit like that. And it was a hard balance between the two, especially when it got into like dialogue scenes, because obviously she's screaming her fucking head off. I threw out my vocal cords for a few of those lines, especially the lines when she's yelling at ink in the void with all the dead ponies. There's a few, I blew up my vocal cords because I was screaming at the top of my fucking lungs.
Voice Losty is amazing.
Oh, yeah. I sound like a goddamn chain smoker. It's amazing.
Not even that. Like, you have these cute voice squeaks that you hate that I point out when you lose your voice.
God damn it.
You really do. It's adorable.
But I would say, if I had to say what was the hardest scene for me to fucking record, it was the death scene. It was when Beloved is dying and Curse is fucking holding her. And I got through that scene, through that scene once, and that was the take we ended up using because
you channeled me actually dying.
Yeah, I did, and it sucks. So
it's just like,
no one wants to imagine that. That shit's hard,
right?
I had to keep. I'm alive. I'm fine. You can do this.
Well, I started crying at one, like legitimately fucking crying, like.
I got so concerned. I'm like, I'm right here, honey.
It's the same thing when I wrote that scene. When I wrote that scene, I was a ball of fucking tears by the end of it because I had to go to a place in my head that just is fucking horrible. And I pulled that out and I was sitting here crying and I was like, I think you were sleeping and I went over and just cuddled into you. I'm like, I need snuggles now. Fuck you.
Wasn't I asleep at the time too?
Yeah, you were asleep.
So it was like, I was pissy because you woke me up and then you were being like, I need cuddles. I was like, cuddles. Oh, I shouldn't have been an asshole.
No. But then recording it, it was the first take. I tried doing the scene again one more time, but it wasn't as...
It wasn't good.
It wasn't as good. It was the first take. I was crying. It was fucking there. And I struggled too, because at some points I couldn't get myself to cry, especially with the second take. The second take, it was gone. I was just like, fuck. So, but the first take worked.
Thank God.
It wasn't as bad. And then obviously the abuse scene, that whole fucking, oh boy, that whole scene when I had to record it was just not, that was not a fun time.
I would take her out to sushi afterwards because that made her happy.
Yeah, it did. See? I just gotta write emotionally fucking traumatizing shit and I just get sushi. That's how this all works.
That's how it works.
That's how it works. But one of the things I had fun with recording, I can't fucking words right now, was all the sound effects I had to do. This was probably the most intensive sound effects wise for a role that I've done before. And I had to do, what is it? Like, obviously my skin getting ripped off, fucking getting impaled. My favorite part, though, the one that I'm most proud of within editing wise, was the part where Curse is trying to fight ink for the first time, and her hooves are just going through her like water, and ink is monologuing because she's like the best fucking thing since goddamn sliced bread, and all you hear is just slapping and fucking like Curse getting the shit kicked out of her. I love that scene. Because especially your delivery, Carmen, because you're just like, fuck you, I'm the best, you stupid bitch. And Curse is just, you just hear like, just fucking losing her shit because she can't fight back because she's just water. She's just
one
liquid.
of my favorite, in a funny way, lines that Carmen did was the "I killed my own cult," the Scar and Simba moment.
Oh yeah.
Oh shit.
Where she like whispers it in her ear all sensually, like, "I killed my son. Like,
yeah.
I blamed you, and it
and
was
then
me."
Curse loses her absolute shit.
Yeah, she like pretty much Kamehamehas all over the fucking place because she's so pissed.
I love how up in your ear ink gets, like, hey, I did it.
Well, yeah, because like, and I wrote, like, if you look at the written version of that text, like, obviously that didn't come out through the animatic, but in the written text, it's like, I even write, like, she whispers it like a sensual lover. Like, that's how Curse describes it. And it's pretty much, yeah, I drew from The Lion King, the Scar, Mufasa, or not not Mufasa, the Scar Simba part where he's like, I killed your father. You think bitch. Bitch. And I took the inspiration for when Ink finally tells Curse. Because that was the other thing too, like, because Ink doesn't say bad words. She doesn't use profanity. And in that moment, you probably see Ink in her most realist, most authentic state than in the entirety of the series. And it's in that moment.
Yeah, because it's only between her and Curse.
Yep. And it's just like I said,
not even Mag gets to hear Ink out of character.
No, she doesn't even get to hear, because Ink always has to put on a facade. And that's why.
Did you know that if you act proper and not curse, that means you're not gay?
Right? Did you know that? If you just. Oh, god damn it.
That's Ink Dye's philosophy.
That is Ink Dye's philosophy. Just act proper and sweet and shit, and you're not gay. That's not how that fucking works. Nope. But it's that, because like I said, that they're the same duality of the same, like, they're similar in that sense. But Ink will never let herself fucking be a crass pony. She won't ever let herself do that. So one thing that I've had a lot of people bring up about is the fact that all the characters are gay or of LGBTQ stuff. Gay horses, because that's a thing. And I think I had someone at one point being like, why did you do that? Like, do you have something against men? I had somebody even say that at once. I was like, what?
Well, all the voice actresses are gay too.
Right.
Except Minnan.
Well, I know Niall and Goody. There's a few people.
I was going to say, Minnan's not allowed to be gay. So.
Right.
He's not. He's not allowed. God
damn it. But someone asked flat out if I had a thing against men. And I was kind of like, no, that's not even the point. The reason why, well, like, it's just, I think the gay thing for me was a second thought. It's, and that's how it should be. It shouldn't be like, oh, like, this is curse word, and the first thing you know about her is that she's a lesbian. No, this is curse word. She's a brash, impulsive bitch who's gullible. That's what should be the thing that stands out.
Yeah.
And I think that's something, like, especially within media, like, people are so quick to be like, oh, how are you portraying these gay characters? How are you putting them into your story and things like that? Well, do we know that they're gay? Well, you didn't put it in right, because now I don't know that they're gay, and da-da-da-da. Like, it's just the way that certain characters are built up. And I don't know. For me personally, it's like, I just wanted them to be gay. I don't have a thing against guys. So some of my closest friends are guys. Like, I don't have anything about that.
What's nice about the story is that, like you're saying, it's not like a driving force of it. It's like, they're gay, that's what you need to know, and that's what the story is entirely based on. Like you're saying, they just happen to be fucking gay. Yeah. Like, you know, it's part of the story. It's not meant to necessarily be an emphasis.
Yeah.
Like, hey, by the way, they're all gay. If you didn't get that, they're gay. It's part of the story. And the story just drives itself.
If I were to change it ever, which I wouldn't, because I think it's perfect as it is, but if I were to change it ever, making Ink Dye a guy would have been a very interesting, because dynamic. It's like, then he could have been homophobic and thrown that in Mag's face.
Oh, yeah. That would be, that's interesting. I want to.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the only other alternate I can see being interesting, because every other way, whatever, played out the same.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, that's an interesting. I might have to let my mind come over that a little bit. Oh man.
There's some people still in my life who think that all I do is watch gay movies or watch movies with gay characters and read books that have gay characters, and then that somehow defines me. Like, the only reason she likes that is because she's gay. I'm like, okay. I mean, sure, if you want to believe that. But I think that adds to Mag's character, because she had it drilled into her by Ink Dye that it's wrong, that it's private, that even though Ink is still trying to come off as the perfect one, that both of them are flawed for that reason. And she kind of takes that out of Magpie, like her frustrations of having to stay in the closet, you know? And so when Mag meets Curse, and Curse is just openly gay and doesn't care, it was jarring for her. You know what I mean?
See, and I think that was the thing I loved the most about the story, like, especially when it came to those aspects. I wanted that duality of Ink is closeted, she can't live the life she wants, and then there's Curse, who just doesn't even give a fuck. And then I feel like a lot of Ink's, also like some of Ink's hatred is because of that. Curse is able to she doesn't care. She doesn't, and to be honest, that was something I wanted to portray, because I know that there are a lot of younger people that listen to my stuff, and I was the idea that people are always gonna hate on who you are as a person. Fuck them, who cares?
That's probably the biggest way I relate to Magpie.
Yeah.
I don't have an Ink Dye, or I didn't have an Ink Dye in my life as a physical person, but as a group of people.
Oh, I was going to say more of an ideological thought.
And I know, again, I've said this in other podcasts, but I come from a very religious family, where both sides of my family are the same religion, and homosexuality is not allowed. And so in a way, that was my Ink Dye. And to come into the relationship with you where your family knew and they didn't care and they loved you anyway, that was so jarring for me. And I remember in the beginning of our relationship too, I'd have moments where I'd have pretty much panic attacks of, why am I doing this to myself? I'm ostracizing myself from my family and ostracizing myself from XYZ. And in the beginning, you were just so patient with me, you know, and you were always like, don't deny these feelings, just work through them.
Yeah.
And that meant a lot to me, because I was always so afraid that you thought that I was going to leave. But that wasn't the case. It was, I'm trying to
sort out
trying to beat my Ink Dye, really. Yeah. I'm really.
Oh man, does that mean everyone has their own little inner ink
Everyone
dye?
has an inner Ink Dye. But you know, as my Ink Dye though, as time has gone on and the longer we were together, has all but disappeared in a lot of ways. There's still some lingering ink dyes in my... I shouldn't say ink dyes, because she's just a terrible... there's still some lingering...
Issues?
Intolerance.
There you go.
Lack of support from certain people. But for most of the people that actually matter, I was shocked and delighted to learn that they love and accept you.
Yeah.
As being my future wife.
I think that was a thought too I had at one point, where it's like, well, what if this is the what if land? This doesn't happen. But like, what if Ink had actually come out to her parents? And my thought is, well, her family already kind of knows and shames her for it. So Ink is unfortunately in a horrible situation where, and there are people that go through that. Now, people who are in those situations don't become raging, fucking, horrible garbage people.
We hope not.
I hope not. But it's the idea that sometimes when you're, you know, gay, lesbian, pan, bi, whatever the fuck ever, there are going to be people around you that are close to you that aren't going to fucking want to tolerate it.
Because as much as we like to think we're a group of people who are woke now,
Oh God.
people still are resistant to differences.
Oh, yeah.
And there's certain differences in their minds that they can't get over, or that they think they can't get over. And that's probably still a pretty big one.
Yeah.
Especially for families that have been, you know, a certain way all their life.
Well, it takes me back to what Curse Word says at the very end, that her reflection monologue, where life is this mixture of blacks and whites, and it's a bunch of grays, and it's up to you to figure out your own fucking way, because it's the truth. It's not, things are not black and white. There's always, it's not cookie cuttered out. It really isn't. And I feel like if people could fucking understand that a little bit more, the world wouldn't be as much of a clusterfuck at times.
Media makes it seem like it is, but it's not.
No, it's not.
The media really does make it seem, and especially like common or YouTubers and you know, the people who actually speak up online, they seem super accepting and whatever, but when you try to apply it in real life, you have to remember parents and older generations aren't
as understanding or tolerant.
Well, they're not even in the generation of media or social media.
No.
So it's usually people our age and younger.
Yeah.
Who are
a little bit
most supportive.
Yeah.
Because the older generations just, that's not how they...
I mean, and that's not all older generations.
No,
like,
no.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm speaking
yeah, I know what you mean, though.
You know, in a general sense from what I've experienced. I don't mean to say that for the world, but from what I've seen.
Yeah.
But change is possible, and I think your story is proof of that.
Yeah.
Your story is proof that if you want it, you can change.
Yeah.
If you don't, it's not going to happen.
Nope.
And Curse Word wanted it, and Ink Dye didn't. And that's why the story ended up the way it did.
Yeah. And on that note, let's give some final thoughts. Carmen, since you've been so quiet, do you have any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Just that the story itself is something that I think everyone can get something out of it and learn something from it, or at least be able to see a new perspective when it comes into growing as a person and being able to deal with certain issues that they may not have known how to tackle in the past. That's all I got.
That's it.
It's still early.
Yes.
I say we're all a little sleep deprived right now,
but we do it because we love Lost.
Right. Do you have any thoughts, Mag?
I'm glad it's over. And not because I don't love it, but because I no longer... Can we talk about the sequel? It's been so nice. We don't have to talk about the sequel anymore.
You were such a shit, I swear.
You're free, Mag. You're free.
I'm free.
God damn it.
In the story and in real life. That's my final word. That's it.
You're such a shit.
And?
You're such a shit.
And?
I guess my final thoughts is I never thought in a million years that I would do something to this magnitude. I'm grateful for everybody, you guys and the fans and everybody who's ever, the artists and anyone who's helped me out along the way. I'm still speechless about it because like I said, it was just a little pipe dream that I've had of this, and I never thought that I was gonna have a full-fledged fucking production of it. And it blows my mind still. Like it's hard for me to wrap my head around. Like I'm like, wow, I wrote this shit. Because there are moments where I'm like, wow, I really did go that fucking hard on certain parts. And I'm like, fuck, no wonder I was so fucked up for so long. Because one thing is that, especially after when I finished Chronicle of Curse Word, the editing aspect of it, I had to kind of pull myself away a little bit. I don't think a lot of people know this. And I did tweet about this, but a lot of the production of it, I was having anxiety attacks. I was dealing with my depression. And by the time I was done, I was so emotionally drained. I kind of had to unplug to kind of build myself back up again.
She's still in the process.
Yeah, I'm still in the process of doing it. Like when I texted Carmen, I was like, "Oh, let's do the podcast," because we'd been talking about it. I'm like, I'm finally ready to start talking about how fucked up I am. It's just. But I I'm grateful for anybody who's given this series a listen, like especially from beginning to end, because like I said, that's the reason why I put the summary at the beginning of Chronicle of Curseword, because I know people don't have time for that kind of stuff. I'm not that kind of a person, but I am grateful for those who have listened from beginning to end or listened to any of the parts, and I do hope that this helps someone along the way. Like I think that was the one thing, is that because obviously I've been through a lot of stupid bad shit, but I wanted to take my pain and everything that I've dealt with and just channel it into something so that it could help others.
You channeled your pain into art.
Yeah, I channeled my pain into art, which is
something a lot of people do, but the way you did it was very, I think, unique.
Yeah, because not many people would write a story and then make it an audio production and then relive the whole thing over again, because what the fuck is life? You know?
You mean there's people out there who don't, put themselves through it again?
No.
Really?
No. Yeah, right? That sounds healthy. I wouldn't recommend this to a lot of people. Don't do it. Don't do it. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this little podcast of thoughts, director commentary, us bitching about gay ponies for an hour and a half. And I want to thank Magpie for helping me out with this and being the wonderful fiance who has supported me this whole fucking time, and it is a miracle you are still here. And I want to thank you, Carmen, because you helped bring Ink Dye to a completely different tier that I never thought she could ever fucking get to. And yes, hopefully you guys enjoyed this. And I think that's it. So we will all talk to you guys later, okay? Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.